But it's great to meet both of you. I'm a real huge fan of your show.
Oh, thank you.
Great to meet you.
So I just wanted to ask, like, because I had that, why you went with such a definitive ending for this show, which, you know, it could have gone in a million different directions since it is Lucifer. So when did that sort of discussion start that we wanted a definitive conclusion to this 6-season story?
I think a big part of it came from season 3 and us having that cliffhanger and not being able to sort of finish our story the way we thought we could until the fans brought us back. And so I think a big part of it was we wanted to make sure we told an ending and make sure we wrap everything up and, you know, and fulfill the promise of the show. And so I think a little bit of it was that sense of like, we want to stick this landing. We want to finish it. I mean, we to a certain extent, I want a box set. When you get it, you feel like you get an entire story. It's like that was a big thing for me. And I think a big part of it was because we came so close to not being able to complete a story at all.
Yeah. And I also think, you know, looking at the final chapter as a bookend of Lucifer's mad at his dad for abandoning him. What happens if we put him in those same shoes? What if he's the parent who's being accused of abandoning his kid? And then again, like even looking at the very last episode, the biggest sacrifice for Lucifer was to not be with her because she's asking him to. She's saying, please, I don't want to be a different person. And I might be a different person. I like who I am. And if things don't play out the way they've played out, I'll be a different person. So we can't change history. And the sacrifice, it's such a sacrifice. People looked at it as, I don't know, not nice, but it was a sacrifice for Lucifer to do that. So,
and a journey of self-love for both of them, which was a very big theme for the show.
Yeah, no, I mean, I liked it. No, it's very poetic, just how it all comes full circle. And then so like, I mean, if you had ended at season 3, it would have just driven me crazy. It's like one of the biggest what ifs ever. So like, was that when you were doing the series at Fox and before you move into Netflix, how did the sort of your planned ending for the show sort of evolve throughout these 3 Netflix seasons?
Oh, good question. Well, first of all, we also would have gone insane if that's where we'd ended. And in fact, we wrote that ending because we're like, we're going to make an ending so undeniable that Fox can't cancel us. And they did. The joke was on us until the fans saved us. So, but yeah, we always had endings. And they always sort of permeated based on where you always want that like sense of here's a place the character can end, but also allow the character to start to tell you if they're going to zig and zag. I feel like, and Ildy, correct me if I'm wrong, I feel like we've felt for a while that we wanted him back in hell in some way and changing it to reflect him. We didn't know quite what that meant, but that felt like, yeah.
Yeah, we did talk also a lot about what happened at the end. I mean, maybe the end being where we ended in the end, season 5 of Lucifer becoming God. We actually explored that a lot, but it did seem like, no, his special skills, the thing Lucifer brings to the table is he knows what it's like to fall and then to be redeemed and to rise again. And so why not help some of these lost souls, some of these damned souls in hell? That's what he brings to the table. And it's almost like abandoning. He would have abandoned who he was if he had just gone and sat on the throne of heaven.
Yeah, I think in a moment we realized that our show is about self-actualization and how you create your own destiny, and you know how the angels have their own superpowers that reflect their personalities. And at some point we realized, well, technically hell is almost of Lucifer's own making. It's his own guilt, his own self-hatred manifest in a place. So it almost felt like his responsibility, if not his calling, to take this place that was a reflection of him and have it now reflect who he had become. And once we found that, I think we were always going back to hell, or not always, usually going back to hell. But then the question was, what was the journey along the way?
Yeah. And so like you do like as definitively as Lucifer and Chloe's story sort of bookended, like, but you do like start a bunch of new beginnings as well for Amenadiel and Linda, Chloe, and and Rory, and then Maze and Eve. And I love Maze so much, and but Eve decides to be she decides to stay mortal. And so like, have you ever had discussions about maybe continuing Maze's story in any, like, maybe in a different medium, maybe like even a comic book type medium?
You never know. I mean, you know, we talk about spin-offs, things, movies, Broadway plays. I mean, these are things that pop up, and we talk about. So you just never know if when and if we will get to that chapter.
I will say the room had a lot of fun, at the very least, creating our own fan fiction of what would happen when, because what was fun about ending the series is ending it with beginnings. And part of it was we had to make sure that those were beginnings that almost were worthy of the fans wondering what happened next. And I hope the fans have written a bunch of fan fiction on where that goes, because to me, that's the fun of it is okay, well, where do you think this journey goes now? That's, as someone who started his writing a bit of fan fiction, I hope that's the case.
Yeah, no, you had a bunch of great characters. Maze was the best of the best. But and like, I know you guys got hit hard with COVID, and when you were going through the production of the last final season. So how did that ultimately end up affecting how things played out? And like, I know one thing that a lot of fans were curious about is like, why did Trixie and Rory never end up meeting?
Well, they did meet. They met in episode 607.
Oh, I mean, sorry, in the final, like the final scene.
Oh, when they come
yeah,
yes. But it was tricky. There was a lot of things, like the big battle at the end of season 5 had to be scaled down quite a bit. We had to adapt. I mean, also problems become solutions. Like, we were supposed to shoot it in this wonderful location at the top of a mountain. Instead, we got the Coliseum. Oh no. Like,
yeah,
open air, plenty of room. You know, we never would have gotten that if not for the fact that the entire city was shut down.
Yeah.
I mean, COVID was a bummer for, you know, all of us in the whole friggin' planet, right? So it was a bummer for us too, in ways that, you know, it was our final season and we had to keep distance, and we were a very loving family at that point, and we were very, you know, lots of hugs and joking and hanging around, and we had to be like, what, you know, you'd have your shield on and your mask and you'd be like, I can't hear you, you know, and we never had our final party, which I still mourn the loss of. You know, there's just saying goodbye really properly felt like it left us a little wanting.
Yeah, but storyline wise, I think we were able to tell all the story we were able to tell. It was a question of having to adapt execution wise, but again, there were some good things come out of it. Maze and Eve's wedding at the Walt Disney Concert Hall. You could not get Walt Disney Concert Hall, but we got it, and it was just there was no location that came close to that beauty,
because they weren't having events. So we're like, oh, thank you, please, we'll film there.
Yeah, no, that came out beautifully. I knew I recognized that, I just couldn't place it. But so like there are a few cameos in the finale that you're talking about, but and then at the final scene we get to see Lucifer in his new role. And so was there any ever talk about bringing back Tom Welling as Cain for that cameo, or like at any point?
There were a lot of people we wanted to bring back, and we had decided, I mean, we loved Patrick Fabian and what he did with that role. We talked about Kevin Rankin because he was so great. He was our big bad season 1. I don't know if you remember, but he just is such a busy dude. Also, we couldn't get a hold of him. There were quite a few.
Bingo. We've actually tried to bring, I think we almost brought Tom Welling back twice because in various things, and then it just, cameos are so tricky, and then when we got to COVID, they really got tricky, and so it's just that situation where we're like, okay, let's let's really micro focus. And Patrick Fabian, Linda's ex-husband, felt like that right balance between a good Easter egg and a character that if you recognized him, you'd get excited. If you didn't recognize him, you'd still understand sort of what was happening.
Yeah, no, I mean, I've spoken to Tom, and he just loved his time on the show, so I was just wishing we got him back. And
He
then
was
so
the best, yeah.
We
Yeah.
love him.
And then so like you have I know it was against God's rules, but like was ever whatever after what happened to Dan and the sort of journey we saw him on before his ultimate fate, and like I'm glad we saw him again in season 6, but was resurrection ever on the table for him, or was that just something you're like you ruled out quickly?
Did we ever explore that? I don't remember.
I think I'm a little confused about the question. Resurrection of
Dan,
Like bring him back to life, like Chloe.
bring him back to life.
Oh, no, I don't think we did. I think we always wanted him to be, because that feels a little schmuckbaity, as they say. You know, we didn't want to kill him and then psych, he's alive. But we sort of did that anyway. But with the fact that he was a ghost. But it gave him a big obstacle, obviously, because he was in the world and yet not in the world, and you know, the frustration of that and dealing with that. So
a big part of it too is we had broken that episode and all that arc when we thought it was the series finale. And so when we found out that we'd have a season 6, we were immediately faced with, well, what do you do with Dan? And Ildy, I feel like you were the one who pitched the ghost Dan element. And I feel like very quickly we were like, oh, because we knew we were bringing Chloe back to life. So we didn't want like the magical whoopsie daisies going everywhere. So we're like, well, what if we can actually earn an emotional arc and explore a concept we've never explored before, but within our rules, within the rules of the show that we have.
Yeah, I think it was specifically purgatory. I was like, I think he should be in purgatory, not quite in one or the other. And so we enjoyed that notion, I think. But
I really love what you guys did with him, because like you hate him at the beginning, and then but you just grow to love him over the season, and it just kind of, it's like real bittersweet. But I'm glad he found his ultimate happiness. And then so like I don't want to keep you too long, but I wanted to ask, like, because you guys did a lot of like these creative, like extremely creative episodes. Like the Hell Loop episode gets me every time, and then you get like that, I think Daniel Espinosa Naked and Afraid, when he's like, when Lucifer's just messing with him. And then there's a musical episode. Was there an episode like you look back on that you're just like, we really went all out on that one and just came together so beautiful? Is there, what's sort of your favorite, like from a production standpoint, your favorite episode?
I mean,
I know your answer, Elise.
Joe knows my answer. Although the noir episode I love too. That's pretty high up there in terms of like production and how it turned out. But yeah, it would definitely be the musical for me. I mean, that was just a dream always that I personally had to do on the show. And the fact that I remember we filmed one musical number every day, and it was like, I can't believe we pulled that off, because it wasn't easy. It was just getting the rehearsals and the choreography, and there was so much to wrangle, and everybody recorded and the music picked and cleared, and it was quite an undertaking, but it was a dream.
Mine was Family Dinner, just because we shot a 14-page scene of just 4 people, but technically 5 people around a table talking. And to me, a lot of season 5 was, how do we challenge ourselves? How do we push ourselves? And Ildy went big in the most gloriously wonderful way ever. And I went small, and I've never really had the huge itch to write a play per se, but it felt like an opportunity to do that. And it was wonderful. Like, we did rehearsals, we did all of this craft work that we don't normally have time to do, but we had to do because it had to be meticulously thought out. And that was an itch I didn't know I wanted to scratch so bad until I got there.
Awesome. Yeah, I'm so thankful that you guys took the time to talk to me. This has been great. I really enjoyed all seasons, and also Dennis Haysbert at God was perfect casting for that. Yeah,
and the nicest guy and the best hugs. So
best hugs.
Yeah,
amazing. Well, thank you guys so much. I really appreciate this.
Thank you so much. This is fun. Take care.